Hi, welcome or welcome back to Litmas. You are about to see me in two very different dresses because let me tell you, so far some of the best smut I have read this year is still in The Nightmare Before Kissmas. And guess what? I can make it Christmassy because it takes place in the North Pole with Prince Cole, the Prince of Christmas. It totally works. Did I read it for the Spookopoly back in October? Yes. Did all that footage get deleted because I waited 1 week to finish filming my reviews for the last 6 books? Also, yes. Am I now going to sit here and try and remember what I thought of all, I don't know, 14, 15 of these books and do it all over again in Christmas attire and some October attire, and I'm not redoing the butterfly costume because that eye makeup took like an hour? Also, yes. Welcome to The Nightmare Before Litmas. But first you have to get through the cute little stories. If, however, you want to just skip ahead to the Halloween part, I'll never know if you're naughty or nice. But Prince Cole might. Roll the intro, please. Let's get into the 12 days of book club. Okay. The next story was called Little Fortunes by Megan Lacroix, and this was the first one that did fantasy. Guys, y'all, it was so good. So it takes place at this marketplace, right? And like they all have tents set up, and it's like 2 rival fortune tellers. One who just inherited the tent, and she's been there forever, and like this tent's been there forever and ever and ever and ever. And she tells fortunes by like touching a token and like reading it from someone. And then this other guy has just moved in, and she's like, "You've got to be a fraud because they're only telling good fortunes." And like, that's not the way the world works, bucko. And then she like gets a snippet of a fortune involving him off of someone else, and off the book goes. And like, of course, she's like trying not to be attracted to him and narrate in her head how attracted she is to him, but like, he's gorgeous. Good times. It was cute, and the writing was good, and I enjoyed the ending, and like it felt like a little like YA. If it sounds good to you and you want to read something like this, it has nothing to do with this whatsoever. There's no fortunes. I was just reminded so much of Amanda Boucher's A Promise of Fire. Maybe check that out if that sounds good to you, and like possible fraudulent like circus. It was really entertaining. The part that was highlighted was a white ceramic tray painted with blue vines and flowers. The quote in the center read, "There is magic in what we choose to treasure." Oh, it's really specific. So this tray is what the people who come to the girl to tell their fortune put their trinket on, so it like leaves most of their essence, but like there's a break from the person and a break before she touches it. That's how the magic works. You need like that break so she can read it. So here is our box. It's really pretty. Shame they put like the day numbers printed on them because day 5 you'd be able to reuse them. But ceramic trinket tray, hand wash only, not food safe. Store keys, display candles, hold dishes. There is magic in what we choose to treasure. Honestly, can you ever go wrong with a trinket tray? Probably could have used this yesterday for that dang prompt from G, which didn't really happen. So today's 12 books of book club mess story. Today's is Taylor Swift themed. I mean, they couldn't actually say her name, but it is TS coded to the 9s, 2 besties right before they head off to college, going on a road trip to her concert with literal like lyric references along the way, doing little like memory making things, one for each album leading up to the concert. It was darling, it was sweet, it was adorable. It reminded me of my younger years and like just being a Taylor Swift fan and what it feels like to have that good classic girl friendship that honestly it only exists in those certain years, and then things get all like complicated, then you get married and have kids, and I don't know if it ever quite feels that fun and free and the same as it does in those years. So God, I sound old, but that's what it was about, and I'm super curious to see what the gift is. It was by Emily Danger and Jasmine Kuliasha, and I'm just like so, I love that it was by 2 besties, just so you know, like that tickles me to no end. It says, the bucket list book page read the title aloud, tracing the navy foiled words with her fingertips. What's this? Well, I guess we're getting a bucket list book, which I don't know how I feel about that. Here's what it looks like. the bucket list book. Did they say it was blue? I feel like they said it was blue. Navy foiled words. Does it say anything inside? Because it was all like Taylor Swift. Oh, it's really pretty. Oh, does it actually say anything, or do you make up your own stuff? This book belongs to bucket list ideas. Learn something new, a new language, take a cooking class, learn a magic trick, grow a garden. Things that scare me. Hold a snake. That was in the book. Ride a roller coaster. No, I will throw up. Places to go. Okay, visit all 50 states. Why? Work and career. Get a bachelor's degree. Hey, did that start a podcast? Retire early. Win an award. Vicious people. Personal life. Get married. Buy a house. Have kids. Host Thanksgiving dinner. Run a marathon. Dye your hair. I thought that was just like everybody did that. Go vegetarian for a week. I did that for 7 years. Read 100 books. I did that this year already. Write a book. I actually did do that, but it's never seeing the light of day. Go snorkeling. I did do that. Go horseback riding. I used to do that. See a Broadway show. Done. Sing at a karaoke night. You know I did that. Sit front row at a concert. No thanks. And this is what it looks like. Date. Why I want to do this. Type of dream. I did it. Dream to brief. How it happened. What I learned. Proof of victory. I think this book just makes me feel badly about myself. But that is it. On to our big... Whether you're here for the first time or not, we're about to review The Nightmare Before Kissmas. And let me tell you, it was a holly jolly fantastic time. Welcome to the North Pole, where Prince Cole has just become engaged to Prince Iris, the Princess of Easter. It is a PR scam. They are trying to make a giant conglomerate of all of the major powers of holidays. Easter and Christmas together, what could go wrong? Think about the giant corporations we have now. Hi, Amazon.
Hi, Kristen.
And you can imagine how it's going. Halloween, however, is not about to let this happen, so Prince Hex shows up and is like, hey, I am also playing for her hand as well. Problem, Prince Cole takes one look at Prince Hex and goes, oh my god, we hooked up a year and a half ago in his head. Again, in his head. And indeed they did. It was the hottest hookup ever. He's been thinking about it ever since. How good does the kiss have to be for you to think about it for a year and a half? Actually, let's not dwell on that. We've all done stuff like this, I think. Don't tell me if you haven't. But here we are, two boys who have once hooked up in an alleyway. Hot. Now fighting over the hand of a girl neither of them are really sure they want. And does Iris actually want either of them? Who knows? But does it matter? Not really, because that's what's happening. Enjoy the holiday hijinks at the North Pole. God, I know I sure did. And the rising tensions between these two boys as they fight, not really for Iris's hand, but their feelings for one another. It was great. They are indeed college students, but quite frankly, it didn't really feel like it, thankfully. They're about to graduate, and with the heaviness of the weight of the futures of actual holidays on their heads, quite frankly, it makes sense that they act much more like adults than college students. I'm going to give an absolute pass on this one because it makes sense. Yes, the smut was absolutely fantastic, not gonna lie. Sweetheart has never sounded better in a bedroom scene, but we had some great humor as well. We had great banter between siblings and friends in a delightful three-way text conversation that was not about to get weird on you, I promise, which was constantly renamed absolutely hilarious things. I've never thought to do that with text conversations with family or friends. Actually, I didn't really know that was a thing, to be perfectly honest. It was freaking hilarious, and it actually sounded like conversations you would have with family or friends. Sometimes those things sound so stilted, you know what I mean? But it also really had heart. Not only did we get into the past of these two, and they did indeed have some past dramas they had to deal with and work through together, and it made a lot of sense that the relationship developed at the pace that it did as a result, but we had actually a really beautiful description, and my favorite parts of Sarah Rosh's writing came out when we talked about the holidays themselves. I never thought of Halloween as a holiday that had so many beautiful parts, but Prince Hex was like, hey, there's joy in the terror. There's fun in the fear. I love when people find that. And he also talks about Dia de los Muertos and how people find the joy and beauty in the remembrance. And meanwhile, Cole is talking about, of course, there's joy in Christmas, fa la 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 la, but I want to see every shade of joy on that man's face. He also meant it in a non-ahem way, but like, The only thing I didn't love was like the whole giant sub family conglomerate crazy plot. We've seen that with like Santa going like a little rogue, a little evil on us. It took up a little more of the book than I needed it to, but you know what? It resolved in a believable and unexpected and really well thought out way, so I'm gonna forgive that one. This was a full 5 stars, and if you are looking for a read that is not super saccharine, hallmarky, and unexpected, this could save your Christmas reading list, and honestly, I might read it again because, God, I'm just dying this year. In fact, surprise unboxing! And there's always going to be one in these videos at this point. I give up. Maybe not the last one. The wrap up of this. Is that coming next? I don't know. I got the Owlcrate special edition of this book, and they were like, do you want goodies with it? And I was like, what are the goodies? They were like, we're not telling you. We're going to find out what's in the box together. There's 9 steps of instructions on the back of this box. Already we are off to a horrendous start. Fairy tales are sweet on winter nights. Okay, this is feeling pretty generic. Winter nights. I have not read that. Nope. So we're going generic. Oh, it's a wax warmer thingy. They don't give you wax. What do you put up here though? No, wait, here's the candle, here's the wax. Got it. I'm not generally allowed near open flames. I see something cozy and I'm freezing. Nope, can't put it on. It's... Oh my god, you guys! Okay, I don't wear these kinds of hats because I'm really vain about messing up my hair. I like the little like band warmer thingies that are cute and like fluffy and I have sparkles, but I might make an exception. Look. It's a lovely Farms hat. Are you freaking kidding? No, they did not. I can't put this on right now. Like, pretend with me. It's so cute. Also, don't mind that there's like some dye. I finally got my hair, like my roots done. It was so bad. It's been like months and months and months and months. So if you're like, did your hair change? Yes, it did. Right, next up we have... Oh, these would have come in handy. I give my hairdresser a book every year. She just got into reading like kind of last year, which is hysterical because that's when I started YouTube. And now I'm like constantly talking to her about books and giving her recommendations. And this year I actually gave her The Nightmare Before Kissmas. May your holidays be joyful and bookshelves plentiful. Season's readings. No, wait, stop. This is so cute. May your home be filled with laughter, adventure, books, and more books. And wishing you a very bookish holiday season. Well, I have her cards for the next 4 years. Oh, I found the wax. It's hex melt. Sweet orange, cinnamon, and bourbon. That's what he's supposed to smell like. I want to know what he smells like. Holy, I'm so into hex. Ouch! Not saying I wouldn't say ouch in bed with these two. Ugly sweater book sleeve. I don't really use these kinds of book sleeves, but I think I'm gonna have to make an exception for this one. Alright, let's see what you look like in here. Nightmare Before Kissmas. I'm in love with this. Like, my book looks so warm and happy and cozy, and I'm so tired! I'm cold in this dress. I'm fine. Wait, what's this? Wait, oh, there's more. Sorry. Not makes a dirty joke. Okay. Dragon Hearth phone. That's so cute! I never know where my phone is anyway. Could you hold a book? No. Yeah. Okay, you now have a purpose. Congratulations. What is this? It's soft. Through the wardrobe throw blanket? Really? I'm freezing. This is adorable. Shut up. It's thin, but it's really soft. You can tell me what it says in the comments. It was a full moon and shining on all the snow. Oh, there's more. Sorry. It made everything almost as bright as day. Somehow I thought that was more eloquent. Okay, great. I'm freaking freezing. So, I was cute and sexy for 5 minutes in the video. And here's the special edition. Look how cute. The Nightmare Before Kissmas by Sarah Rosh. Look at this. Look at this. Oh, that's what happiness is at the roots, a foundation. Oh my god, I love this so much. Okay, here we go. Look how stunning. This was the only special edition of this book I could find. Like, I can't wait. There's gonna be another one where Prince Cole's brother meets the prince. St. Patrick's Day. And it better come out in March. Like, it better not be next year. It better be 2025. You are my home. Wait. Joy creates magic. Like, are you seeing these? Oh my god. Like, the pages, like, the sides or whatever, but OMG. I love this so much. Oh wait, it has a little, like, there we go, the foiling all around and signed, yes, and a note. What do you want for Christmas? Joy. The last one was the whole reason I started writing Nightmare Before Kissmas. I was talking about joy. Boy, did I get the memo. I love this with my whole heart. Like, my whole heart. I always joke that I'm going to dedicate my books to you, the reader, but this one, I mean it. This book is for you. I just wanted to make you smile. We all deserve that. I don't think anyone had an easy year. I know from my comments, a lot of you didn't. I hope you're finding some joy right now. I really do. Like, it's bringing me joy. Alright, let's get into the rest of my Spookopoly videos. I mean, books. While I'm feeling warm and snuggly, I will get the bad news out of the way first. The one book I didn't get to was the Giant Scary Oathbreaker. This is an old library version. I don't know why I have 2 copies, but one, I can't find my new one. This is the old library one. I just couldn't get to it. I ran out of time. Like, believe it or not, I spend more time with my family going to events at Halloween than I do at Christmas. Honestly, it is like our thing. So when it came down to, like, are you gonna do all the family events in the county or are you gonna read this book? Family wins. So Oathbreaker did not happen. The reason that I did not film the rest of my reactions and the last few reviews that I had left to film was this book, The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. I read this, I finished it. It took me a while to get through because I was crying so much. Normally when I pick World War II books, I pick ones that have a little levity, whether it's like they're anchored to the present and whether we're talking about like a painting and that's like we're seeing the past and the present collide, or there's like a designer dress and we're seeing the past and the present collide through that designer dress or something, or an apartment is inherited, or we're talking about codes and code breaking and there's something to cling to that's really interesting that is not like shattering my soul constantly. The Nightingale does the opposite. Kristen Hanna takes every possible opportunity to destroy you and makes sure you feel every type of pain, every moment of this book, and I was just unprepared to film that weekend, and then the election was that Tuesday, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna get through the stress of this. My mom and I had a big fight that Monday right before, and I was like, I just, you know, I'm gonna wait for it to be over, you know, and get good news. And you're not supposed to talk about politics on book 2 for the most part, but I was devastated following the election and I didn't film, and then I got into other videos. So we're gonna see if I can talk about it now. I think I can. Got my blanket. Your blankie. Linus over here. Objectively, this is a 5-star book. This is probably the most brilliant book that I have ever read about World War II. It was my first Kristen Hanna, and the challenge that I had to read this for was, what is the highest rated book that you have on your TBR? And this was it, and I understand why it was so highly rated. The writing is absolutely stunning. The research that went into this was clearly impeccable. The characters are so clearly defined and unbelievably well developed and go through so much throughout the book, and you can literally see them changing before your eyes. It is a stunning book, but you have to be in the right headspace to read this, and I feared that I wasn't when I picked it up, and I was not. So it really affected me very, very deeply. That being said, it is a really important book, and books like this bring up the conversation of why books are so important and why books are being banned, why reading is the first thing that people talk about when they are trying to rise up in any way. This is why it is so important to push against book bans and why we need to make sure history does not repeat itself. This is a book about two sisters during World War II. One of them is based in Paris, and her story is more the story that we are almost used to hearing. She is the brave one. She is the rebel. She's had her heart broken, and she decides she's going to help work in the rebellion and do her best to work against the Nazis and do what she can to try and help as best she can. Hers is the type of story that we hear. The other sister is the quiet story, the story we don't necessarily hear. She is a mom in a small town out on the outskirts of France in the countryside, and her husband has gone off and is a soldier, so she is left on her own to fend for her children. And when the Germans come into their town, she is one of the nicer homes, and so she is forced to allow a soldier to stay in her home with her and cook for him and clean for him and give him the best bedroom and that kind of thing. And she is forced to essentially stay silent to stay safe. She has to watch as things slowly happen in her town, and she learns very quickly, you don't say anything. You don't speak up when people wear stars. You don't speak up when people go missing. You don't speak up when people's names go on lists. You don't speak up for your friends. You don't speak up for their children. You don't speak. And learning silence is just as hard as fighting out in so many ways, and that is the story we don't see. And I found her story more poignant for most of the book because it's the relatable one. It's the one so many of us would have had as our lived experience if we were there. Especially, you know, I'm a mom. I felt her desperation to do anything for her children. And then just when you think you understand the book, Kristen Hanna's like, no, now I'm gonna make it hurt. Now I'm going to show you what really happens to those people who try and rebel. Now I'm going to show you what happens even when you think the war is over. Nothing's ever really over. The story is anchored in present day, which I thought would help, but it is anchored and you don't know by which sister. And she's cleaning out her attic, and you know she's going to live in a respite home. She is unwell. This is sort of the end. She is facing that and thus falling back into and facing her memories. And every time you go back to the present and you think you're getting a break, somehow it is not a break. It hurts more. It doesn't take you away from the pain. It enhances it. It finds a way to twist it further. It was poignant. It was beautiful. I sobbed more times than I can tell you. Every time I thought I was done crying, there was something else. As long as your heart is beating, you have something to lose. As long as you have family, you have something to lose. This was one of those books that I sort of wish everyone could read, but I don't think everyone can read, and I understand that. If you're going to pick this up, it's an amazing read. There's no way it's not 5 stars. I couldn't find a fault or a flaw in it, but be prepared for one heck of a World War II read. It's not just like women's fiction. You know what I mean, right? Like, it's gonna tear your soul out. Hi, welcome back to Halloween. I missed it. Did you? I found a hat I'm not gonna get yelled at for putting shadow on my face. Go me. Let's talk books. First, let's talk the Revenant Games. I filmed my entire way through this up until the very last gift, which I forgot to open. This is one of those Once Upon a Book boxes where you get to open gifts along the way. This is about Bly. She is a human who lives in kind of an unfortunate situation. See, she lives in a village where the humans are really poverty-stricken, and they're caught between vampire and witch kingdoms. Both the vampires and the witches need blood. Witches for spells, vampires for You get it, right? Right. Now, unfortunately for her, her sister has recently passed, and her friend is in a really unfortunate situation where he is going to die soonish. So she decides to enter the Revenant Games, these super dangerous games that occur like once a year for 2 weeks, where humans can enter and try and bring a witch, the most powerful vampire, to use, because their blood's more powerful, or bring a vampire, the most powerful witch, to use, again, more powerful blood. Super dangerous, super unfortunate. There's people trying to sabotage people. There's all sorts of like bounty hunters and stuff in the games. It's not a great time, but she decides to pair up with her dying friend Emerson, and together they're going to get the most powerful witch and the most powerful vampire so they can save Emerson, because the prize from the vampires is eternal life, and bring her sister Elise back, because the prize from the witches is to bring someone back from the dead. It's the perfect plan if you're really stupid or brave or both. So along the way they capture a vampire. Unfortunately, Bly is really attracted to the vampire, and the vampire actually has a pretty nice personality. Oh, and gorgeous. So there's that. So it seems like the plans for Bly might be going slightly awry. Oh, don't you hate it when that happens? Looks like she's gonna have to decide if the boy who's making her finally feel alive for the first time in a very long time is worth her sister? Is there more to life than just survival, Bly? I don't know. We're going to find out in the games. And what's going on with Emerson, I also don't know. Is this a love triangle? Actually, I do know, because I've read it, but I'm going to take you through the book. So first off, I'm going to let you know right now, we actually meet Elise. She dies, like in the first few pages. So that's really fun, but there's not like a lot of emotional like depth behind it, because she dies within the first few pages, and it's not a spoiler because we know she dies. But we meet her, and they're going through the woods, and they come upon a mushroom. And that's when we get our first gift, which I unfortunately already opened. It was in a cute mushroom box, and it's this really cute mushroom like lip oil gloss stuff, and you don't know it. But it smells amazing, and I've been using it in most of my videos when my lips get dry, and whatever this stuff is, I don't know, but it's like my favorite stuff ever, and I'm gonna be devastated when it's gone. You can already see how much I've used. It was completely full when I got it. Yeah. It's like the perfect lip stuff, and like it doesn't say anything about it. So when it's gone, I'm gonna be really sad, but it's adorable. And this is actually like, the quality was great. I was completely shocked. It was really early on in the book though, so we weren't making it too far. The next gift that I got to open in the book was, we were traveling along, and this is where we find out that before the Revenant Games, you can go and you can try and get a sponsor, and that's the best way to survive in the Revenant Games. So her and Emerson are in the vampire lair. This is their first stop. They're trying to get like a vampire sponsor, and she meets this guy named Kerrigan, and he is pretty good looking, and they're kind of hitting it off, and she's got her neck all bared, and he like, that's how you would like can attract him if you're pretty. Like, maybe I'll give you a sippy sip if like you sponsor me, like a side deal, you know, give me food and like protect me in the games, and you know, perks. And it reads, then he tugged loose his blue silk scarf. And how cute is this? It's literally a blue scarf tied, oh nope, a skinny scarf tied around your neck to keep vampires away, or around your handbag straps for added decoration. I thought this was adorable. Obviously I haven't used it yet. I haven't really had a chance to. And you know, once you take the bow, like you undo this bow, it's never gonna look that good ever again. But this is something I would wear in my hair. Like, you just saw me with a scarf in my hair. How ironic, a few minutes ago. Or I would tie it on a handbag. I've done both. So this is actually something that probably will genuinely get used, which is nice. And the next part, they are hiding out together in the games, trying to lie low, and they found this place where a bunch of people are like resting, and they're trying to blend in together. So it's like a twist on the one bed trope. It's page 315, so we're pretty far. They've gotten to know each other pretty well. There's some pretty good chemistry going on. It reads, right, practical, I'll get in first since I'm bigger, he said. He sat down and awkwardly rolled into the hammock, which shook back and forth in the branches. And I was like, y'all are not giving me a hammock, but they did. It's a hammock that you tie in between two trees. That's kind of an insane gift, right? It's a canvas hammock, and it says it gives you a video to show you how to tie the knots that you need, and the weight limit is 200 pounds. So it can hold me and my daughter and like a dog, both dogs. So that's fairly impressive. And then the last gift I actually forgot to open. I was so into this story, I didn't want to go upstairs to get the last gift, which is really convenient. So we actually do get to open it together. It is page 345. A wolf silhouetted against a sky the color of near dark. And it just describes a scene that is beautiful and haunting. So I'm assuming it's like a poster. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but so yeah, it's just very Twilight. Oh my god. Tell me that is not so like 15 years ago, 10 years ago. When did Twilight come out? I feel like I remember seeing the first movie in theaters, I think. And I just like laughed a lot. Like, he was not my Edward. It was not what I pictured, and I was annoyed. So overall, Margie Feston does vampires really well, and she uses them to explore basically what you would expect with vampires. The ideas of the afterlife, you know, what is precious in life? What does death mean? Is there an afterlife? What is it to move on? What should be cherished? All those things that kind of give the idea of vampirism so much depth in the first place, which is what I love. And she does it in a YA, very like accessible fashion and in varying degrees of fantasy. This and Cruel Illusions are definitely her most fantastical work. I would say this is probably the highest jump into fantasy she went. Her writing, as always, is really good. I really enjoyed her exploration of the relationships in here. They were complicated and interconnected and interwoven well. Guilt and family always play such key elements, as well as there's always a really strong best friend element in her books, and all of those themes were just so well done. The stakes were so high. She had every level playing of, you know, immortality versus bringing people back to life. She really like leveled it up with making sure we had so many different options in terms of the decisions that needed to be made and the characters and the pieces at play. So I was really not sure how this book was going to end, and the closer we got to end, the more concerned I was getting, because I didn't see an ending here. I didn't see a good ending here. I didn't see any ending here, and it turns out this is the first in a series, which I'm really disappointed to see, because one thing that I loved about her is all of her books so far have been standalones. I would have loved to see more of Cruel Illusions, honestly. But I love how compact and finite her development of characters always have been, and how complete her stories have been. It's so hard to do that, especially when you're trying to explore such huge topics. And I really appreciated how well she's always done that in the past, and how she's always had that little at the end, like that little like, not was it a dream, but like that little like twinge of maybe what if. I was very disappointed in the way this ended, and I don't know if these are the characters that I would want to continue on with. I think Cruel Illusions had stronger characters, and I think Hearts and Other Dead Things maybe had some more interesting things to say. It was so much more bittersweet. This ended up devolving into what felt so much more like a traditional romantasy, and that's what I love about her books, because she ends them. We never get that relationship that is dragged on. We never get that romance at the center of things, because things are coming to an end. People need to come to a decision and live with their decision, and everything is finite in a sense. So I lost that in this book, and I was really disappointed to see that. Was it really good? Yes. Did I enjoy my time in it? Yes. But was this 5 stars? No. Was this 4 stars? I'm not sure. This was maybe hovering around 3.5 by the time I got to the end, although the journey along the way was probably closer to 4. I think our characters were just so melodramatic and so insistent on not growing in the ways that I'm used to seeing her characters grow, and so stuck in their ways. I wanted to see more from them, and I assume we're going to be seeing that in the next book, but I just expected more from them. Too fast, I guess. Yes, I will read the next book, absolutely. I wish she had stuck with her original formula, because that's what made her so brilliant. So, little disappointed with the Revenant Games. I think this was her weakest book so far, which is so disappointing. The Siren Queen by Nevo. I listened to most of this on audio, and if you have the chance, amazing to listen on audio. Oh my god. Lush, beautiful, phenomenal, fantastic. The narration just sweeps you away. I did read part of it as well, and like, this is just such a stunning book, and I've never heard anyone talk about it. This is about Luli Wei, who is trying to make it in Hollywood, and she ends up sort of living in these apartment training camps, whatever you like. It's not horrifying. It's just, you know, girls live there and like go and like take dance classes and acting classes every day, and they're signed on with a studio like you used to be in old Hollywood, and they sort of, you know, are taking bit parts as they're waiting for their big break. And this is her story, but because she is Asian, normally she would only be given parts that are like the maid, the foreigner, like parts that are very stereotypical and somewhat, dare I say, racist. And she was like, I will not take those parts. You have to find something else for me. I'm better. She doesn't say I'm better. Well, maybe she did. I don't remember. She wants more for herself than that. And all of that in and of itself, I think, would be interesting enough. I think she's an amalgamation of a lot of different actresses at the time. Like Anime Wong, I think certainly was one of the inspirations, possibly. But what Nevo did was like, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to do it in a fantastical, I think it almost exceeds like magical realism way. These studio directors are like these almost devil monsters, like have taken over their bodies, and they make sacrifices every All Hallows Eve, and they have these fires, and all these horrific things happen at night, and there's like the hunt that goes around and that they lead, and it's obviously inspired by Celtic mythology, and it's just this wild thing, and you can sacrifice years of your life to like get someone to help you or be your sponsor, essentially, your champion. And it's a crazy story. Like her roommate, she goes in, and this girl had surgery to have like her tail removed, and like that's just accepted and normal. Like magic is such a part of Hollywood, but it doesn't seem to exist like outside of Hollywood. It's just this magic place. And stars are literal stars. Like you have your star rise into the sky, and you are a star, and you like come back down, and you're like this silver glittering magical wonderful thing. You can like bestow a kiss on people, and it leaves this, it sounds insane, and it is, and it was an incredible read. Obviously everything is symbolic in nature, but seen done in such a literal fantastic way was magical. How lame is that? But it was. She eventually takes a role to literally become like a monster, like a monstrous in the movies, a siren. And it is just watching her navigate her way in this terrifying world where there are literal and like symbolic monsters around her, and then being willing to take on roles that are, you know, not such nice roles on the screen, and like everyone else who's like, I want to be like the innocent sweet girl, and I want to be the nice maid. It is just so beautifully written. It is sapphic, and those scenes, listening to those on audio, I was like, first of all, I have a 6-year-old, dear God, can't listen to those when she's home. But they were like, yes, they were hot, but they were so beautiful in a way too. Everything was more in this book. You know how Hollywood makes everything grander than it is? The language in this book made everything in this book grander than it was. I adored everything about this, and I just picked up another book by Nevo because I am dying to see what else she's written. Even if you don't like old Hollywood, I think if you like historical books, or if you like fantasy, this could appeal to people on so many different levels because it's just so uniquely its own thing. You could read it coming from so many different places, and it's short. If you're watching me, and if you've watched me, and if you generally like my recommendations, I would encourage you to give it a shot. It's just completely out there. You'll know pretty soon if you're gonna like it once you get to the Hollywood parts. At the beginning, I was a little like, I mean, we're just watching her like in her home, kind of daydreaming, like wanting this. But once it picks up in the Hollywood stuff, wow. And then we'll contrast this with Jessica Clare's What the Hex. I read Go Hex Yourself last year, and I loved it. I thought it was some of the best. One of these like smutty, like dating, whatever we're gonna call these, like witchy romances that I read last year, and I picked this up. This is about Penny, and she is part of like this society of familiars, and she knows she's not going to be a familiar for probably like 50 years, because once witches and warlocks get their familiars, they just keep them for ages and ages and ages. Her parents are familiars, and like they're basically treating her like crap, and like she just does chores around the house and does her best. She's so sunshiny, oh my god. And William Sour, who deserves the last name Sour, oh, more on him momentarily, he can't have a familiar because he like made an oopsie, and he's like basically on probation for a while. His spells like lack power because they can't have one. So the characters from the last book hook him up with Penny, and he's like, I'll train you if you be my familiar under the table, but in order to explain why you're living with me, because using your powers drains her so much she basically passes out right away, we have to like pretend to fake date. So it's a fake dating story, which I thought I didn't like originally, but I've been having a lot more luck with in the past like year or so. I was so disappointed in this book. I was like, there's a cute pet squirrel, I'm gonna love it. He was not on page nearly enough. I want like more of the pet squirrel. Seriously, justice for Pip. Like, it's, oh my god, the best part of the book, and he was barely in there. She is so sunshiny. I found her annoying. Her fashion sense, please stop describing it because it's terrible. I know that's petty, but whatever. But he was obnoxious, and he treated her terribly at first. Like, these two, I did not buy their chemistry for 1 minute. He was so miserable. He was a miserable human being. These two did not make sense together at all. Like, literally, the writer was like, they have chemistry. And I was like, they don't make sense together. They don't have chemistry. I don't believe them for a minute. There was this trope in there that happened, like, every time he used her magic, something happened, and I thought it was so dumb, and, like, that's the reason they're supposed to have chemistry. That's the reason they start to have feels. It was so forced. I was so disappointed. And last time there was this, like, big mystery thing they had to solve, and there was all this danger, and, like, I was kind of into it. This time, even worse. Like, I struggled to get through this book. Like, I really did. I kept picking it up and putting it down, and I think I read 3 books while I read this book. It was a struggle. I did not enjoy this. This was not a fun little witchy rom-com. I don't know where Jessica Clare went wrong. I do. Her characters. If I don't enjoy your 2 characters, her magic is rooted in paganism, so they have, like, sacrifices to the original gods and mentions the original gods and all like the herbs and stuff, and like it all, like, I love that because it all makes sense and it makes it feel like kind of like real-ish, you know what I mean, right? Like it's not just like waving a wand, so that's kind of different and fun. And they mention like all kinds of old magics, which I enjoy. Like, you had to do the research for that. That was good, but that was in the first book. Her parents treated her terribly. He treated her terribly at first. Like, everything about this book, I was just like, I don't enjoy this. Even their smut scenes, I was just like, ugh. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. He was like, the greedy girl. Like, this is not a fun read. So I don't recommend this one. It was just not good. Once and Future Witches also kind of baffled me. I have had this on my shelves and I've just been saving it for the perfect time because I kind of assumed it's going to be like a perfect 5-star read, and it wasn't. I think because I read the 10,000 Doors of January and it was just like mind-blowingly perfect, I assumed this was going to be too. And everything about it should have been. It's this like feminist tale of these witches who are living in a world without magic. It's like 1893 and they're living in this town called New Salem. The old Salem had like burnt down and witchcraft had been blamed, so no magic is allowed. And there's this dark, horrible, evil guy rising to power slowly but surely, and he's like all for the return to older, more puritanical times and really against women in power. And there's like book burnings and like, you know what I'm talking about, right? We all see the parallel, and it's literally, this book was published in 2020, and a lot of this is based on the suffragist movement, and she literally was like, this is partially a call to action after what happened in 2016, and we were all staring around in horror. And talking about this book right now is just like also horrifying, so that's nice. Perfect for a Halloween review. But it's about these 3 sisters who live in this town now. The youngest is sort of the wildest, the middle one is sort of the more maternal one, I would say. And then the oldest is sort of the quiet, introspective one, and she works in a library. And the three of them are realizing that maybe one of the ways to sort of turn the suffragist movement is to add witchcraft to it. And in order to do that, you need the will, the words, and the way, which I did love. And I won't give too much away, but the way they brought witchcraft in, the references of old witchcraft, the way things happened, I did love all of that. Some of the visuals of the magic were really stunning, and I would love to see this done cinematically. Like, I think it's too long for a film. Like, it'd have to be a mini-series or something. There were so many complications. This touches on definitely like triggery stuff, but ultimately it's tackling the same stuff we're talking about today: women's rights, voting, touchier subjects, the rights to our own bodies, men rising up and how much easier it is for them to speak and find power and sway, and ultimately what that looks like. And it is sort of a recreation of the Salem witch trials as well. Of course, it takes place in a town called New Salem. So many parts of it were just done in such an interesting way, but there was something about the scope of it that felt off to me. I understand why there needed to be three sisters. I understand why they all needed their own stories and why they all needed so much attention to their own stories. I almost wonder if it would have been better broken with duology, or if, I don't know, there was something about the pacing of the book that threw me, if it needed more detail or less detail, or something about the pacing didn't work specifically for me. And I don't know if I needed more or less information. And that is super unhelpful, but that is how I was left feeling. The villain was very clearly based on a certain far-right leader. She flat out said it in interviews. This is not me reaching. I will say I don't think ours dabbles, is too worried about witchcraft or dabbling in any dark arts, or not dabbling in any dark arts. You know, the importance of voting and having a right to, and women having a right to their own bodies, and how easy it is for crowds to turn and crowds to, you know, they say a person is smart, people are dumb. I think a person is smart, people are dangerous. A woman plays so many roles. We see it in witchcraft, in the maiden, the mother, and the crone. I wanted to see that explored a little further in the sisters. I think that could have been done a little more interestingly and a little more obviously. I also wanted to see, based on their ages, a little more of an exploration of the motherhood role. And also, I think they could have done a little bit more with the idea of marriage to a certain extent, but that's just me being really nitpicky. The way magic was brought in was probably my favorite part, and I will forever thank Alex E. Harrow for doing it that particular way. Just know that there are some scenes that are really hard to read in terms of pain and dungeons and things of that nature, so consider yourself forewarned. But if you are looking for a suffragist witch movement with voting and sisterhood and good for her energy, I think we all might be headed there this year. Yeah, no, this is a great place to start. The Black Witch Chronicles wanted to have the same energy as the Once and Future Witches, but Laurie Force didn't quite get there. Now, that's not necessarily entirely her fault. It is kind of YA, it is a little more romantasy, and it is a lot less violent and terrifying, but I still was told that this book was going to be like the most amazing thing, and then you're going to be disappointed in books 2 and 3, and I was disappointed in book 1. So I don't think I'll be continuing on to books 2 and 3. We've got a Lauren who dreams of becoming an apothecary, and her grandma is like, yeah, sure, fine, but we want you to get hand-fasted first, which is basically like engaged. And the aunt's brother, her uncle, who she's been living with out, like, kind of on the edge of society forever, is kind of like, nah, let her go to university first. She's got time. Let her be an apothecary. It's cool. And the aunt is really high up in society. She's one of the most powerful witches. This other is, this girl is the descendant of the Black Witch. And there's this prophecy about the next one who's going to, like, defeat this demon thing. It's a whole thing. But this girl supposedly has like little to no magic powers, so it's clearly not going to be her. So she gets this university, and it turns out her aunt's not going to pay her tithe there. So she has to work in the kitchens, which is really frowned upon, and where all the like lower beings work. So that's anyone who's not like a mage. And most importantly, there are these like demonic looking creature things called Icarels, okay? Or Icarels, whatever. And she winds up having to room in a tower with the two of them who are currently attending because she's paying her own way. And she's terrified of them. And she's like, Aunt, you can't let me do this. And she's like, well, this guy's interested in you. He's the most powerful guy. His name's Lucas Gray. You met him. He's hot. Her aunt doesn't say that, but paraphrasing here. And he's the most powerful guy, like, there. Just say yes. She says no. Meanwhile, because this guy's interested in her, of course, the other most powerful witch there at their university is, like, jealous and making her life miserable because she wants this guy and she's rumored to be the next Black Witch. It's a whole thing. I think because this was published like almost 10 years ago, it was probably brilliant and amazing and really shocking and fresh and wonderful when it was published. It's this whole girl discovering that the people who aren't like her are just fine and befriending them in the kitchens and fighting against what she thought, and the world is nothing like what she thought, and this prophecy isn't quite what she thought, and oh my god, there's so much to uncover, and nothing is what it seems, and her aunt isn't what she seems, and the whole societal like hierarchy isn't good for anyone. Like, it's one of those, you know what I mean? And because I've read so many of them at this point, maybe like almost 10 years ago, this was mind-blowing, but now I feel like I have read every single thing in this book before. The bullying, the befriending these demon-looking creatures, the finding out that like the whole pure bloodline thing, I'm over it. All of the stuff in this book, like the aunt trying to force the hand fasting to keep the bloodlines like powerful, and all of it, I'm just like, I have read every single thing in this book before, and sure, it's well written, but there is nothing in this book that I have not seen. That is how I felt the entire time reading it. I enjoyed my time. It was kind of like I've enjoyed reading all these things before. This is nice, but there was really nothing in it that made me go like, oh, wow. It went political faster than I thought, and because we're at a university, we could go like higher and deeper into all that stuff. Things got interesting halfway through the book for sure, but I have literally seen every twist and everything in this book. So I don't think I'm going to be continuing on, especially since everyone said this is the good book of the series. I've seen everything in it. Like, it's just nothing new. It's nothing new. If you have not read Phantasma by now, where have you been? Well, let me give you my take on it. Two sisters who happen to be necromancers. We're stepping things up here, yeah. They don't just see dead people, they play with them. Their mom has just died, they have debt, they need to deal with that. And so the younger sister, who did not inherit mommy's powers like she thought she was going to, has entered Phantasma. It's this 10-story mansion. If you make it to the top, you get a wish. No one makes it to the top. No one, but she enters anyway. And so what does Big Sister do?
I volunteer as tribute!
What all the big sisters do, she runs in after her and is like, oh my god, if I make it to the 7th level, I'll finally get to see my sister. That's when all of the contestants get to see one another. Hurrah! Maybe if you make it to the 7th level, you're doing okay, but whatever. And then I'll save my sister and pull her out. This is the great plan. Of course, when she's in there, she meets a phantom, and he's like, hey, I'll help you if you make this deal with me. I've got some stuff to find and a mystery to solve to find the stuff. And she's like, okay, cool, if you help me. And he's like, yeah, okay, cool, I'll help you. And of course, they get their ghosty grind on if you take my meeting. So yeah, no, it's Carvel with blood, then haunts, and all the twisty corridors and ballrooms and fun things you would want, but scary and violent. More violent. So, I had a great time. I loved it. It was an amazing read around Halloween, I'm not gonna lie. Did it scare me? Yeah, kinda. There was some, like, terrifying crap in here. I would not have survived a single thing in this book, including the first night's haunts, period. Like, when they say haunts, they don't mean, like, boo, a ghost pops out of it. No, that is not what they mean, okay? He is going around behind her with, like, the world's most supersonic vacuum cleaner to clean up the stuff so she can, like, no, it's not okay. I enjoy books like this. I enjoy the idea of Caraval. I enjoy the idea of Phantasma. I enjoy this general trope, whatever it is, traveling through stuff to get to a prize. I enjoy the idea of someone having a hot guy help them. I enjoy them falling for said hot guy when he has mysterious magical powers and is absolutely some sort of bad shadow daddy with an inside, like, scoop on the game. I enjoy all of these things. I do. Absolutely. I have no complaints. It says, one, I have no idea how this is going to be continuing because the ending was completely satisfying, and I suppose there's some sort of opening, maybe? I don't know. I will continue reading whatever happens next because I had a great time despite being scared and eating my teddy bear. I was really surprised by the end. It way leveled up. It shot way high above where it was going. It had this whole story. It brought so much more into it than I thought it was going to. Explain things that I never thought we were going to get explanations for. It went way bigger than I thought, and I just loved it. It ended up feeling like mythical or something. I was here for it. If you haven't read it yet, it takes place in New Orleans, so I would say give it a shot around Mardi Gras. If you're not like super feeling the like Valentine's thing, there's romance, but it's in New Orleans. So this could be really fun then, and it does have those like New Orleans magical, like slightly spooky vibes. You know, that like voodoo inspired magic. Like, I felt it. I really look forward to seeing what's next in this world. I'm hoping that Roman numeral is not like a trick. It could be. Everything else in the book was a trick, so why the hell not? But there is a reason everyone loved this book. Just read the book. Like, do it. You'll have a good time. Know where I didn't have a good time? I'm sorry to say, L.J. Andrews' The Ever King. It's not that I didn't have a good time. Like, I read it and it was fine. It was probably like 3 stars. The whole time I was comparing it to A Ship of Bones and Teeth by Karina Halley. That is a retelling of Little Mermaid. They're on a boat. No, they're on a terrifying ship, and she's escaping an abusive relationship from Prince Eric, and she's with a pirate, and he's supposed to be like the most terrifying pirate in the world, and he's like the sweetest guy ever to her, and they're supposed to have this like dark romance, and it's not dark, and I was bored by their sex lives. Sorry, I was. It was more vanilla than like, aside from the rope, no one has not done what they did if you've had sex. This guy has been locked away in the Ever by this girl's dad for years. He's been stuck in this kingdom. He is mad. They were at war, and now he has a chance to kidnap this princess. This is the perfect revenge. Do something. First of all, this girl knows how to fight. I was promised like this sweet, innocent, virginal princess. Like, I wanted terrified. I wanted, oh my god, I can't believe what I'm seeing. I wanted that. We don't get that anymore, okay? I wanted Regency romance on a pirate ship. I wanted terror. I wanted fear. I wanted, what is that in your pants? Okay, that's what I wanted. I love how dark he is. I shouldn't, but I do. Fine, we can do that. We can play that way. Were they a bit darker? Was she at least a virgin? Did they have a little fun with that at least? Yeah, fine. But like, I want a sweet, innocent girl who's terrified of being deflowered. Can I get that somewhere? Anywhere? In a pirate setting? Nowhere to go? He was at least scary. He was at least like disemboweling people and doing horrible things with like, and I know what I say, like I hate violence, and I do. I was promised a really scary pirate, and I wanted her to be scared. Like, it was Halloween. Those were the vibes I wanted on the high seas. I did not get them. I was disappointed. Was I cranky? Yeah. Was it that time of the month? Yeah. Was I forced into really tight clothing at that time of the month? And did someone else finish the chocolate? Yeah. This book also disappointed me. It did not disappoint in terms of how cool the world was. All right, I really enjoyed how the worlds were separated. We had Viking vibes. The whole idea of this like Ever where it's completely separated by this wall, and you have to like basically go underwater, and she can't survive, so he's doing things to make her sort of comfortable. She doesn't completely know that, and the way all that functioned was really interesting. I loved the way sirens were finally represented. He was dark enough. Like, there was some really great stuff. There were some interesting things done with characters. You know what was different was the way in his kingdom we saw that there could be no queen trope. We saw that women were treated really badly. We saw a lot of things that like made me excited for book 2. I just didn't get what I was promised, and I'm a little salty. It deserved it. Okay, next up we have If I Had to Be Haunted. This was the book that I wore the butterfly costume for. I'm gonna put a nice big picture up here. We were butterflies this year. It was perfect. I was so psyched to do my review in that damn costume. Do you know how itchy that eye makeup was? My God. I finished this book on Halloween before we went trick-or-treating, so it'd be so fresh. Do I remember it? Yeah. So we have a girl who kind of has a tiger mommy, and she's fighting it out with this guy at school, and she's like, do not do what your grandma did. I don't care if you see dead people, you ignore them, you get good grades, you go to college, you get the perfect job, you live like the good life. That is what we are here for. By the way, her grandma is deceased, so that's sad. All is well and good until this poor girl goes into the forest, like walking home from school, and she sees this boy she's been fighting with, the golden boy at school, who's completely hot, by the way, and he's dead. And he's like, please, can you put me back in my body? There's a loophole for like a magical reason, and if she can like do this thing and travel through this like world and do this whole like adventure thing, she can in fact save him. Of course she's gonna do it. Of course she's gonna do the thing. Her mom is not happy. She leaves her a note, like classic. Off she goes. So we know they're gonna fall for each other. We know there's a chance he might not make it. We know there's a lot of bittersweet stuff going on. We know that like he's a ghost. It's that kind of thing there, and I was expecting this to be a lot more bittersweet, and like I wanted more moments that were tender and like learning about the afterlife and like what love means, like kind of like what I expected from Margie Feston. Instead, I got this weird like, you know, those cartoon movies that we all watched when we were like kids, where you have like, they're very episodic. You're on this adventure and you meet like one like bad thing or disaster or thing you have to solve, and you're in it for like a little while and you resolve it, and maybe you pick up like a person along the way from it, and then you travel on and you meet the next thing, and so on and so forth. That is very much what it felt like. It was this very episodic adventure, like from one thing to another to another to another, and it was just strange. Like it felt very staccato is the word I'm coming up with. The story just felt very broken and choppy, and I wanted a little bit more. Like we do get to watch them and they have their moments and things, and like we do see some interesting things in this afterlife world, and it's a little more intense than I was expecting, quite frankly. Like some pretty scary stuff goes down for YA, and then we also have this like random sweet stuff that there was this beautiful scene with like butterflies. It was a very unique, interesting world. I'm wondering if there was more from like Asian folklore that I just did not recognize, perhaps. But ultimately, Miranda Sun just gave me a story that I never expected, and I never knew it was coming, and I felt off kilter for most of it, and that was fine. But I never felt fully satisfied either. And the ending felt kind of melodramatic. It just felt like it dragged. And like, just make up your mind if you're going to have it end one way or the other. Just end it that way. You don't have to like fake out and then like, you know what I mean? I don't know. I didn't click with this book in the way that I thought I was going to, and I think that's because my expectations were just so completely far off from what this book was. I reread the description. It talks about mother-daughter love, first romance, and finding your place in the world while honoring your culture, full of heart, humor, and thrills. It has all of those things, sure, but I still maintain that my interpretation of it would have been totally true. It's very unique. It's very different. If you're tired of the same old thing and you want something that's like a little less about heart and a little more about the adventure, maybe pick this up. But for me, this was not my taste. What totally was my taste was The Temptation of Magic by Megan Scott. I am really disappointed that this book did not wind up in the Choice Awards. I think not enough people read it, and maybe this lackluster did not help. I just think people missed this one, and I don't know why, and it's such a shame because it was really good. It does have a sequel coming out if you want to jump in on this one. I encourage you to. So this is about a girl who is trying very hard to hide the fact that she is magical. She's an Empyrean, and Empyreans need to have their power awoken. You can kind of keep that from happening and keep your scent sort of covered in order to hide yourself from the wake, because if you don't, they're gonna inscript you basically or get rid of you. Either way, your life's not gonna be your own anymore, and that's not really fun, and that's like, you know, not a great thing. And that's pretty much what happened to her mom. Her mom is no longer alive, so she lives with her dad and her siblings in this tiny little like seaside perfect town. They've moved around a lot to make sure no one's like sus and picking up their scent or anything. And meanwhile, she is sort of convinced that her mom has left her a secret message in this art. Her mom was doing research on something before she left, and whatever it was a really big deal. And she's convinced there's this message for her in this artwork. She's an art history student, and she's finally gained access to these stupid paintings in this stupid house, in this stupid mansion on this stupid cliff. And what happens? She loses access because the stupid owner of the cliff dies, right? And what happens just as she's finally about to see all these paintings and like figure stuff out, in comes the wake's #1 guy, Kian, okay? He is trying to hunt down this terrible villain who like has done awful things, and like, yes, we want him off the face of the earth, in jail, or like just not existent anymore. That's what we want. That would be great. In fact, like, unfortunately for both of them, this creature decides, hey, I'm smarter than you think, and I'm going to steal one of these paintings and use it as leverage to sort of buy myself a better deal. Maybe get out of town without getting captured or killed. This does not work for our main girl, Nicole, because she needs the painting because she thinks the message might be in it. And Kian is like, hey, you know everything there is to know about these paintings. Why don't you help me and work with me, and we can try and get the painting back, figure out why he stole it. And she's like, oh crap, you're gonna find out my secret, and if you do, this is really bad. And the creature's like, hey, I know your stupid secret, so you have to help me get out of here. It's a mess. It's a freaking mess, okay? And meanwhile, this art, it has like this hidden message that could like undo everything and reveal a secret that changes their past, present, history, future for all of mankind, all of creatures, all the Imperials. It's fantastic stuff. Yay. Good times. And they're falling for each other. Did I mention Kian and Nicole are falling for each other? No? Okay. I forgot to mention that. If you get too upset or excited or are in a really dangerous situation, your powers are going to come out to protect you. And you're going to become that full Imperial. And your scent's going to like give you away. It's good. It's good. No, this book was so much better than I thought it was going to be. The art history was interesting. The world was really clever and interesting. The constant danger made so much sense. She is in danger. Being involved with this situation, she needs to find out what her mom knew because it's putting their family in danger. So she needs to get the painting, but to get the painting, she's going to be in danger. She has no reason to tell Kian no. But by putting herself in danger, she risks her body taking over and becoming this thing that will then show Kian, hey, I'm an Imperial, you need to take me to the wake immediately so I can be like put down or be forced to become one of their little soldiers like you are. It is the perfect setup. It's the perfect setup, and it's so good. And Imperials have this amazing power, which is so interesting. What makes them terrifying is they're the only things that can kill other like Imperials, and they're the perfect like assassins for all creatures. I'm not going to explain more to give too much away, but the way the magic functions is absolutely genius. Megan Scott thought of every little loophole to make sure that Imperials work perfectly. In this book, the weaknesses are perfect, the strengths are perfect. Like, it was so genius. It was so well done. The art history was fantastic. The setting was amazing. I loved the writing. And oh my god. Oh my god. Their chemistry was some of the best. I'm trying to fight this chemistry I've seen in so long. It had one of my favorite tropes, which if you know me by now, you're like, enemies, lovers, more, keep going. Keep going. There's more. People are not picking this book up. I know they're not because they'd be raving about it. I just fell hook, line, and sinker for this. It is kind of a romantasy, but there's enough fantasy stuff with all the creatures and different magic and different creatures, like variations on vampires that make them a little bit different, variations on other creatures that I haven't quite seen, just those little twists to take this world and make it her own that I just loved. And I haven't seen anything like an Imperial before. What she did with this creature that they are, I've not seen that. Nope, that's new. That's fun. That's totally different. I wish more people would pick this book up. This was my surprise read of this readathon, I have to say. Kind of figured where, you know, I'm gonna like this, I'm gonna not like that. Like, things may have varied here or there a little bit, but this was one I figured was probably gonna be like 3 stars, maybe 4. This was the big surprise, wow, I love it, of the Spookopoly. It's not Halloweeny, like, it's just a great fantasy read. It's romantasy. You need the romance. So I'm gonna say it's romantasy. But it's not, like, overdone. It really isn't. A lot of it hinges on this mystery that's going on. There's a lot of sleuthing and traversing about the town and trying to figure stuff out. We have seen the type of conflicts before, but the way it's done, I ate this up. This was my surprise, like, I love it, of October. So, take that for what you will. Okay, Blood Orange by Karina Halley. This was such an interesting one for me. So, this is about a vampire, right, who's teaching over in Italy at this university, and he's a music teacher, which I loved, and one of his students is secretly, like, hiding her identity to a certain degree because she's a witch and working with witches to sort of, like, take him out. Vampires are bad and dangerous. So she's supposed to, like, seduce him, and she has this, like, magical blade and blah, blah, blah. We've seen this type thing before. Meanwhile, he's kind of, like, falling for it to a certain extent. But we're also getting flashbacks of his past life, which actually, to me, were really interesting. And he also runs this, like, vampire den where they can feed, and feeding also tends to usually be synonymous with sex. Like, we've seen this type thing before. It's like the Red Room. It's literally called that. Like, could you be more no, you could be more cliche. You could not. So he owns and runs that, so he's really rich and, like, yay. That's basically the book. That is the book. And she plays, like, the organ. No, I mean, like, the piano organ. I'm not being crude here. He also has kind of given up on love prior to this because he's seen a few reincarnations of his love. He's Dracula. He's seen Mina. He has seen, what's her face? Oh my god. And he's kind of just given up at this point because she always dies, like, horribly trying to have a child. So this is not a spoiler. This is, like, right here, right? Like, not a spoiler. Parts of this were amazing. The descriptions of Italy were actually beautiful. The descriptions of music were beautiful. I loved his descriptions of his past. They were tragic and well written, and they really had my feelings going, and they really made me understand Valtu as the character. Seeing him lose his humanity slowly, like, you could understand what was going on with him and how things were going. Venice itself had this incredible haunting quality. You could tell, like, something's there, something's coming, something's lurking. Like, there was so many layers to this. I was so surprised by how much I loved so much of this book. I wasn't expecting a lot of it to be as well written as it was, and there were funny parts too. Like, he's talking about, oh man, that Bram Stoker, what was his deal? He mixed up Mina and Lucy. Like, he got everything wrong. Van Helsing, what the actual F? He was not a vampire hunter. This is ridiculous. And Renfield, he just, like, made, who the hell was that? He just made him up. That guy could have never hung with us. He was just, like, jealous and, like, a sore loser and, like, ex. I was dying, okay? Like, the irreverence there had me, like, done. So large parts of this book were fantastic, and it was all the stuff surrounding Valtu and basically his character and his mythology, essentially. All the descriptions of the country, everything. I loved all of that. What I didn't love, I guess, was the main character. Is that really weird? She was all right. Their chemistry together was pretty okay. Like, it was fine. Those parts were honestly less interesting to me because we've just seen it so much before. But I guess they were good. They came together okay. It was honestly the smut that I hated. And I can't believe those words are coming out of my mouth, but it's the truth. So here he is, this professor, right? And he is falling in love with his student. And the very first time he takes her home, they have like pretty like a good time, but like a roughish time. And she wakes up and he's like got her tied up and blindfolded. Okay, I would be thinking, oh my God, I'm about to get murdered. This is it. This is the end. He doesn't know that she knows what he is or who he is or that she is a witch or anything. Her identity is hidden because she needs to keep it that way because she's eventually going to like go after him. She doesn't really know his proclivities or who he is too much at this point. So like from his perspective, he should not have done this. She could not have known to trust him at this point in any way, shape, or form. This is just abusive. He runs a red room and he has rules and he has people watching. Like, you have a chaperone if you're a vampire to make sure you're not taking advantage of the humans and to make sure that the humans are okay and the vampires don't go too far. He should know what a proper BDSM relationship looks like. So I had a huge issue right there off the bat with his very first like day-night interaction, like sexual encounter with her. He would not have done that. He should not have done that. That did not make sense if he wants to have a relationship with this woman, period. Let alone that she's a student. Dreadful, terrible, awful. They go at it multiple times right before she is like on campus, right on the organ. Okay, no one's gonna do that on like $1 million organ while teachers are present, even if he can compel them. Like, she doesn't know he's a vampire yet, and like he does that right in front. No, you can't do that like right before a concert when there's 1 million people around. Like, you're gonna get there are still the laws of like teacher student. I was so annoyed. Worse still is when he first gets with Mina. She is virginal. It is like the freaking Regency era. They've been together for a month. They're barely engaged. They're not married. This is their first time alone with him. She has already expressed like hesitancy and some sort of rejection and a desire for propriety. Their first time together, he's got her on her hands and knees, like to lose her virginity, and he's like spanking her like with stuff before they go. That is not how you're going to lose your virginity. That's not how you're going to go at it with the love of your life just because he knows she enjoyed that stuff in her past life. Okay, after you've been together for a while, after you've discovered your sexual proclivities, after you've gained trust, and he's already mentioned that in her new reincarnations, she has new habits, new hobbies, new manners of speaking, new things that she enjoys, new personality traits to a certain extent. She's the same person overall, yes, but there are differences. So how does he know she's gonna have the same preferences there when maybe like she prefers different foods? Oh my God. So the smut, F. I expected so much more from Karina Halley, especially if she is telling us he has all the clues to know how to treat Mina the first time, to know she might need different things. It's the Regency era. You don't do that. He's already supposed to be traumatized because he saw the love of his life murdered in front of him. He has seen the love of his life die in childbirth. He has been traumatized multiple times. Now he is running a BDSM club. He should know about consent. F. Vol 2 gets an F, which is a shame because the rest of the book was great. And finally, Dowry of Blood. I'm so glad this was my first ST Gibson, sort of. Desire, obsession, control. Indeed, these are perfect descriptors for this book about also frickin' Dracula. Man, I wanted to end on these two because I thought it'd be fun. Fun might not be the word I was looking for in retrospect. So this is about the brides of Dracula. Constanza is his first wife, and this is her story. She is essentially writing him a letter. It starts off really interestingly. You know, I never dreamed, and then we literally see her writing stuff and it's crossed off. And from that, I could tell this was just going to be such a personal, introspective book. And I was so right, and things were different than I thought it was going to be. He does take one more bride, and then he takes on Alexei. I didn't see that coming. I don't know if that's a spoiler. I don't think it is. No, you can tell it's a boy in the picture. You can tell. I'm going to say it's not a spoiler. But the relationship between these four, this is basically their relationship over. She at first is super grateful to him. He saves her from the brink of death, and then she realizes, you know, just because you're saved from one thing does not mean that the person who saves you is your savior necessarily. And so he takes on another bride, and she loves her too. Like, this is not a disastrous like hatred thing. And then they meet Alexei, and he joins their family. It's complicated. The relationships are also complicated. How could it not be? I cannot imagine being in a throuple. I have enough jealousy issues, dear God. I don't think my husband would want to share either. Vampirism is one of my favorite things to explore. At first, I just considered it this really sexy thing because I have a thing for my neck being bitten, like in general, like that just does it for me. Hi internet, what's up? And like we all watched like the Vampire Diaries, and it was hot and like whatever. But as I've gotten older, I realized the reason we keep going back to vampirism is because as we start aging, we start really thinking about immortality and what it means. And do we want that? I think Anne Rice did it best, in the sense of, when do you start to lose your mind? When do you start to lose your humanity? What do you need in order to keep that going? Can the human mind change fast enough to evolve with the times? Look at all we've seen in our lifetime, and I'm tired. Every time my iPhone updates, I'm like, I hate this. So that's always such an interesting facet, and part of me wondered if one of the reasons Dracula became so depraved is because he was first turned, and then he's older, he's been left alone longer. He was talking about he can't taste food anymore, he can't experience those pleasures. So is he seeking more and more extremes? Is he taking out his frustrations on those he loves because he isn't connected to his humanity and to his heart, or he's trying to experience pleasure? Is he's trying to experience any kind of emotion or seek out extreme emotions in others? I always find that so interesting in vampires. Obviously, I don't think S.T. Gibson was taking a look at it from that sense, the way the mob sort of stormed him. This was Constance's way of trying to figure out what went wrong in their relationship. And I think a lot of people have to do like a dissection of what went wrong in any relationship when it ends, but particularly an abusive relationship. When you're done with it, you have to find a way to pick up the pieces, and you're still you're still going on, you're still there. So she's writing these letters, at first saying, I loved you so much. What happened? Why did you do this? We had such a great life. We found our loves. Things were going so well. And then I realized I couldn't do this. And then I saw your moods changed, and I was terrified of you, and I couldn't do that. It was the most heart-wrenching exploration of an abusive relationship. And YouTube's not going to like that I'm saying any of these things. I think the way it's explored, bringing in another person at first, she's trying to find another lover. We've seen thruples, we've seen this done. But when they bring in that third, I think it was a representation of how sometimes people have that last-ditch effort to have a baby to try and save a relationship in some ways. Someone to take care of, someone fresh, almost a distraction in some ways. And that's what made it even more tragic. No matter how you look at this, no matter what kind of relationship you're in that is a bad one, whether it is a friendship relationship, whether it's emotionally negative, whether it's physically a bad one, this book is going to take you there. It's going to do it at first gently, softly. It's in a fantasy world. You're not going to notice it at first. And then you're going to see the same patterns that happen in real life, because ultimately Vampires look like people, they're shaped like people, they talk like people. So be careful with this book if you have experienced anything like that. It is beautifully written. It is tragic. It is devastating. It is heart-wrenching. I hated the way it ended. I loved the way it ended. It couldn't have ended any other way. I wanted so much more for the characters. I understand how broken they can be. I fear for the cycle of abuse. I love that they were trying to figure out a way to break that, but I'm really, like, if there's a sequel, I'd be terrified that that couldn't be, just because of the nature of vampirism, and if S.T. Gibson would take it there or not. Was that a Dracula thing? Was that his personality thing? Was that a slow degradation of the human mind because of the passage of time, or because of their awareness? Are they doing the work necessary to avoid that cycle? I have so much to say about this book, but I think it's mostly been said probably by people who can say it better than I can. Just know that there is a reason that people read this, people sob over it, people give it 5 stars, people say it's beautiful, it's fantastic. Be careful with it, because it's not going to be careful with you. Boy, I started on a high note and ended on a high note, didn't I? Welcome to the world's most depressing book review I have ever given. I wish I had another book that I had left to the end at this point. No, I don't think I do. Spookopoly was a great readathon for me. I am really sorry that everything got deleted. It is such a shame, because the reviews were fresher and probably had better details, and I think I had like quotes and things marked out, and I probably rambled less. On the other hand, I've had a chance to reflect a little bit more on some of these books and give you a more zoomed out, this is how they affected me in the long term kind of review, which is not something I ever really get to do. So maybe that was fun. I'm pretty sure it was just really depressing. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me for this horribly depressing Litmas. I feel like I really dragged some of these books, and I'm really sorry. But yeah, no, that's it. Oh wait, I forgot to open the door. So I'm gonna do that now. Door 4. Okay. The snowmane. The snowmane is an elegant creature with a fascination for reflective surfaces. Same snowmane. And so their enclosure at the Wallace's wonderful winter animals doubles as a mirror maid. Is that kind, or is that just like maybe they constantly feel on edge and confused and stressed? Did you ask them? Snowmanes are fond of a little puzzle, and often hold objects in their small grubby hands, emitting a loud purr when brushed. Naturally skittish, they must be approached slowly and calmly, as they are natural empaths, easily spooked by nervous or aggressive energy. Be shown how to encomb a snowmane. Prompt: use a hair or face mask. I do not have time. Are you kidding? Can I just use the nice makeup remover? Reward: pampering kit for the days you need extra care. To include mental care. Door 5. Goat. Goat. Goes over alpine terrain. Why are its eyes scary? Why does it need tusks like that? It's an agile, fast, and clever creature. A coveted mount and pet. Mount and pet. Okay. It has a caring disposition, making it a wonderful companion to those who travel often. Oh no, never mind. Especially useful to those who want to explore hard-to-reach lands. I'm more of like a luxury kind of traveler, by which I mean I never go anywhere ever, and in theory, I would like to be a luxury traveler. Rumored to be a manifestation of the hills themselves. I'm sorry, it's terrifying. I'm covering it, which is why GOAT is so capable of navigating them. At night, their eyes shine as bright as streetlight. No, it's awful. Favorite treat is raisins. How many raisins would this thing need to consume? No, I'm afraid of this. No. Visit. Take the goat for a test drive over some fabricated hills. Go for a walk. It is 2 a.m. I'm going to get eaten by a coyote. I'm going to pass. I also don't want the goat. I rode the goat shirt. I don't want the goat shirt. I don't wear t-shirts. Skip. Door 6. Sure. I don't know what this is. Aurora Boreas. Why do you have like tentacle things? Gee, whatever you were on when you made these, I kind of want some, but I kind of don't. While it forages around the trees and chilly forest floor, this tundra-dwelling primate, what's a yeti? Is a yeti a primate? Yetis are real, right? No, they're not. Oh, God, you're not going to cut that out, are you? What am I thinking of? Yaks. Yaks start with Y. No yetis. No, that's in Rudolph. Where was I? Deliberately cultivates a dense shawl of shimmering foliage over its fur. I would do that too. The Aurora Boreas is naturally shy and can use these glowing mosses and lichens to bewitch or startle other creatures. That's not nice. Allowing it to slip away in the forest. So you're like Bigfoot, but glowy. As the lights descend down in the sky during nightfall, Aurora Boreas have been seen to slow dancing. Visit. Witness the Aurora Boreas slow dance as their fur changes colors. Prompt. Color in the Boreas. Reward. Room projector. Bring the Lightfall lights inside and summon the festive energy whenever the season. I'm gonna go. I'll let you get back to your book, and I'll be getting back to mine, because I have like 6 more books to read in the next 3 days before this readathon ends. I've lost my mind at this point. But you like the chaos, right? We like the chaos. We like the chaos. All chaos. All the time at this point. So, I love you all. Merry Christmas-ween. I'll see you if I make it through the next few days. If not, my husband can just like post that I'm asleep for the rest of December. And I'll see you in 2025. Bye!